In one of Hollywood's most dazzling evenings, a bold statement echoed, leaving the world breathless. Was Meryl Streep overrated? This question, like a bolt from the blue, disrupted the usual flow of the ceremony. In 2017, Meryl Streep, standing on stage, wasn't merely accepting an award. She transformed the moment into an unforgettable statement, choosing not to discuss her career or list acknowledgments. Instead, she used her moment in the spotlight to condemn behavior she believed was destroying society. Her target was Donald Trump. The actress recalled an incident that had shaken many. During his campaign, Trump allegedly mocked a reporter with a disability. Streep emphasized that she was outraged not only by the act itself but also by what it symbolized. A powerful person using their position to humiliate someone who couldn't fight back. Her words resonated with particular force. Disrespect begets disrespect, and violence begets more violence. It wasn't just about Trump, but about how leaders' actions shape public opinion and influence relationships between people. One episode stood out, causing universal astonishment. It wasn't about artistry but the effect it had on the audience, eliciting laughter and exposing true intentions. This was the moment when a person vying for the highest office in the country parroted a reporter with disabilities, someone inherently less privileged, powerful, and able to retaliate. Silence fell over the hall. The audience wasn't just listening. They were feeling. Streep didn't name Trump, but it was clear to everyone who she was talking about. Her narrative was devoid of anger or yelling. It was restrained, almost pleading, as if she were asking us to consider what behavior we are willing to consider normal. It's important to note that this wasn't just her personal opinion. Millions had already expressed their outrage at Trump's actions during the campaign. Meryl Streep managed to put into words what touched the hearts of many. It wasn't just a speech in Hollywood but a call to consider what leaders we follow and what behavior we are willing to accept. Following Meryl Streep's emotional speech, the discussion of Trump's behavior gained new momentum, although this topic had already been circulating in Hollywood. Previously, other well-known figures had expressed their views. One of the most vocal critics was Robert De Niro. He didn't mince words, calling Trump a dangerous person and even stating his desire to punch him in the face. This wasn't a joke or a light-hearted comment but rather a manifestation of deep disillusionment. When a person in power and in the public eye allows themselves to make such statements, it inevitably impacts society, as if giving permission for others to do the same. Disrespect breeds disrespect. When influential people abuse their position to intimidate others, we all lose. De Niro compared Trump to a gangster, noting that he acts like he's untouchable, bending the rules to suit himself. De Niro's criticism wasn't just about Trump's policies but also his approach to leadership in general. Robert De Niro expressed the opinion that Donald Trump's actions set a dangerous precedent where power is used irresponsibly and accountability becomes optional. His words carried weight because they were specific and not politically processed. De Niro's directness and sincerity resonated with those who shared his concerns. He believed that Trump's leadership style was not only flawed but also detrimental to the country's image and values. De Niro spoke not only as an actor but as a person genuinely concerned about the future of America. His comments amplified the growing disillusionment among people who believed that Trump's rise to power wasn't just about politics but a shift in how the world views America. De Niro's voice became part of a broader conversation about what leadership should be and whether Trump embodies any of it. De Niro wasn't alone. Hollywood had something to say about Trump, and many didn't hold back. Billie Eilish, for example, called him a predator right from the stage during her concert. This wasn't just a passing remark but a way to express disappointment in a person who, in the speaker's opinion, does more harm than good. Margaret Thatcher once noted, "If you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman." Stephen King, the legendary author, also didn't stand aside. He regularly used social media to express his disapproval, wittily pointing out dangerous trends, in his opinion, in Trump's actions. Singer Cher also actively voiced her concerns, especially regarding his position on social and environmental issues. It's remarkable how these celebrities, representing different spheres of life, music, literature, film, converged in their assessments. Their disappointments seemed to echo each other. They weren't just criticizing a politician. They were raising alarms about behavior they believed could harm society as a whole. The criticism wasn't limited to personal attacks. Many felt that Trump's leadership style normalized division and fostered an us versus them culture. This evolved into a broader discussion about values, respect, and responsibility. These voices weren't just making headlines. They were sparking debates at dinner tables, on social media, and in newsrooms. Whether people agreed or disagreed, the message was clear. Trump's presidency wasn't just another political chapter, but a lightning rod for debates about how leaders shape a nation's culture and values. When celebrities like Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, and others voiced their disapproval, they weren't alone. A growing number of people across the country were questioning Trump's leadership. For his critics, his time in office wasn't just controversial. It was polarizing. Some believed his boldness bordered on recklessness, while others argued that his decisions were leading America into dangerous territory. Disrespect begets disrespect. Violence begets violence. When the powerful use their position to bully others, we all lose. We need a principled press to hold power accountable for every transgression. Applause, outrage. One common complaint was his handling of social issues. Many critics argued that his statements and policies deepened divides between different groups of people rather than bridging them. His pronouncements often triggered storms of controversy, with many seeing them as inflammatory rather than constructive. On the international stage, some leaders expressed concern about the direction America was heading under his leadership, particularly on issues involving alliances and diplomacy. However, the division was clear. Supporters saw him as someone who was disrupting the established order and delivering on his promises, particularly on issues like immigration and taxes. They admired his refusal to play by traditional political rules. At the same time, his critics argued that this very refusal was creating chaos, where decisions often seemed impulsive and lacked long-term vision. More broadly, the discussion shifted from specific policies to his leadership style in general. Was his approach bold and necessary for change, or was it divisive and damaging to the country's moral fabric? What made Trump so compelling for debate was his ability to seemingly amplify people's deepest fears and strongest hopes. He was more than just a president. He became an embodiment of how people envisioned America's future. The question arises, is our democracy at risk in this election? According to many, yes. Democracy is a great value, but often people take it for granted. For some, it's just a word, the meaning of which they don't fully understand. However, the essence of democracy lies in distinguishing right from wrong. This man's actions go beyond what is acceptable, as if he is deliberately trying to commit the most terrible acts in order to provoke a negative reaction. The motives for his behavior remain unclear, but his actions are alarming. The criticism of Trump by celebrities wasn't just an expression of personal disappointment. It touched on a larger question. Do public figures really shape public opinion, or do they merely reflect it? Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, Billie Eilish, and others have drawn attention with their sharp statements against Trump. But the effect of their words has not been unambiguous. Some believe that when stars speak out, their influence amplifies the importance of important discussions. The influence of celebrities on public opinion is undeniable, because millions of people follow their statements, which can bring important issues to the forefront. Streep's speech, for example, not only contained criticism of Trump, but also encouraged the audience to think about the impact of leadership on values such as respect and empathy. Such participation of famous personalities often involves people in discussing topics that might otherwise go unnoticed. However, there is also the opposite point of view, according to which criticism from celebrities can have the opposite effect. Trump supporters, for example, often reject such voices, considering them to be elites who are out of touch with reality and do not understand the difficulties faced by ordinary Americans. In some cases, this even increased Trump's appeal in the eyes of his electorate, who saw in his unpolished and defiant style a contrast to the verified critical remarks of Hollywood. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that celebrities have been able to draw public attention to important issues. They have brought energy to discussions about leadership, power, and morality. Regardless of whether their words influenced a change of opinion or merely reinforced existing ones, They made it impossible to ignore the deep-seated problems facing society. It was not just about Trump, but also about the role of leaders, influential figures, and even citizens in determining the direction of the country's development. This man should not be president, period. We are living in a moment in our country's history when this guy is acting like a gangster. He came and said a lot of things, did a lot of things, and we keep repeating that it's terrible, we're in a terrible situation. And this guy just keeps going in the same vein. The day after he was elected, I said, well, give him a chance, you never know what will happen. But he turned out to be worse than I could have imagined. Many of you are probably thinking, well, it's CNN. After all the speeches, interviews, and heated debates, one question remains. Are these celebrities right? When Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, and others spoke out, they were not just criticizing Trump, they were asking people to think about what kind of leadership matters most. But whether you agree with them or not depends on how you assess Trump's actions and what values you think leaders should uphold. Many expressed solidarity with the celebrities, considering their concerns to be well-founded. In their opinion, Trump's behavior was not only inappropriate for the status of president, but also set a tone that encouraged division, disrespect, and conflict. They argued that when a leader ridicules someone, incites hatred, or ignores criticism, it creates a trickle-down effect. It's not just about political decisions, but about how those decisions affect national identity and how Americans treat each other. However, there is another point of view. Trump's supporters often see him as a counterweight to the political elite, including Hollywood. They believe that his direct, uncompromising approach embodies strength and authenticity, even if some people don't like it. For them, criticism from celebrities only reinforced their belief that Trump is fighting against a system that has ignored ordinary Americans for too long. The real question is not simply whether to agree with celebrities, but what their criticism reveals about our own expectations of leadership. Should leaders prioritize unity over destruction? Should they avoid controversy or welcome it? These questions remind us that leadership is not just one person, but also the direction we are all willing to take for the